This how God works. Play my position, what is given with no concerns. Set it off. Top of the morning, I'm gonna set it out.
Because I'm so West Coast. From Huntersville, Daytona's on the 6th floor. 6 blunts in the trunk with enormous beat. Crawling when I shine, nigga, through Long Beach. Beach City Club, up the whips on the.
What up, y'all? Just a little crip walking to like get your morning started off right. You know what I'm saying? Welcome to the Great Joy Hunt. My name is Andrew Defy, aka the Gorilla Poet Laureate, aka the Hoodie God, aka Spittin' Quarantino, aka Zaddy Elastic Pants, aka the Snack Master General, because I'll cook and eat a whole meal all up in the Zoom room without even putting myself on mute, aka I wear my sunglasses indoors every time of the day because my eyes are as sensitive as my heart is, y'all. And it is Open Call Wednesday here at the Great Joy Hunt. So we're gonna see who stops by. I saw a rumor going around on Facebook about who might jump into it with us today. So this is gonna be real exciting. As we get started, as we always do, before we get into any of that, I need to know. What's your number?
This how God works. Play my position, what is given with no concerns. Set it off. Top of the morning, I'm gonna set it out.
So this is the part of the show where we take 60 seconds and we do our little internal survey of where is our number at? Where's our number at today? So on a scale of 1 to 10, you might do A to Z. You know what I mean? You might have a color. You know what I mean? Don't let me bind you down with the way that I do this. But I like to take a little second to really think about where I'm at in the morning. This morning I'm feeling super, super good. Had a full day of just like relaxing and chilling into the vibe yesterday. And I don't know if you've ever had these days, but like when you relax and chill into the vibe, and let it just kind of roll, then everything kind of, the momentum just tends to move really nicely. You know what I mean? Real smooth. Like I had a call that I forgot that I had yesterday that was about some business and organizing some curriculum, and the person that I was on the phone with, by the time we got done, was like, wow, that was so easy. That happened so easily. Yeah, because the vibe was right. We was both in alignment with our assignment. And then at the end of the call, she said, "Do you have any questions for me?" And I said, "Yes, ma'am, I do." "Where's your joy at?" And she said, "Well, that's a deep question. You know, it was my birthday and my mom bought me a juicer. So I made juice for the first time today." I said, "You drinking that joy juice?" And then we talked joy juice recipes for like 10 minutes. It was dope. It was dope, and just had a lot of laughs, a lot of good energy coming from it. And it was a business call. You know what I mean? It could have been very, very professional, but it ended up being a really high vibrational call. And I think that's just part of it when you kind of lean back into, the vibes. So that's what's your number? You better figure out your number by now, because this is a guidance for where we trying to get to for the day. If you start out at a 1, you might be trying to just get to a 2 for the day. If you start out at a 10, you're trying to get to an 11. You know what I mean? So, I'm rolling real high this morning. You know what I mean? I feel like I'm probably up at a good 10, 11. You know what I mean? I got some good vibes going on. Got a good feeling about today. So, yeah. That being said, that's what's your number, y'all. That's what's your number. None of y'all gave me your number. Nobody gave me their number tonight. It's like being in my 20s, going out to the bar all over again. No one gave me their number. It's all good. We're going to get into the Great Joy Hunt right now. We're going to see. Oh.
This how God works. Play my position, what is given with no concerns. set it off. Top of the morning, I'm gonna set it off.
So y'all know it is open call Wednesday over here at the Great Joy Hunt. So you know, I post the link in the comments, and anyone who wants to can just jump in and join me. We could do a little interview, we could do performances, we could do whatever you want to do. And it looks like there we go. My sound engineers are having a hard time today. Yo, stop. Yo, we got a special guest. Y'all.
What's going on?
Yes.
Oh my God, it worked. It worked. How's the technologies along with the joy, Andrew? So much joy, so much technologies.
So much at the same time. And I mean, my team is really stressed. You know, there's like 15 people, 15 imaginary people running around here trying to work everything at the same time. We got show producers,
Right.
we got the graphics people.
I feel your pain and your joy.
It's a wild imaginary staff day around here.
I've tried to do it all too. All of it with my fingers and toes. I need those little Lilliputians. What was that what they're called? Those tiny people in Gulliver's Travels.
Yeah,
they definitely
were. And I know that because I was writing a poem recently and I needed another word for small. Oh. And I found out that was one. And I was like, I don't know if I know I'm a laureate, but I still don't think I'm like that qualified to use the word Lilliputian.
Right.
You know what I mean?
It feels a little pretentious. It's like almost the opposite of what's happening. You're using too big of a word for something small. You know what I mean? Right.
Yeah. And that's such a funny thing. Like the word big is like 3 letters, but the word microscopic is like 11.
Right. I love tripping off words like that. I've been wrapping up Schitt's Creek finally, like the last season of Schitt's Creek, which I've enjoyed a lot. It's kind of a spiritual successor in some ways to Arrested Development to me, but a little bit more mainstream. But the point being that Moira, the lead female character, every episode, it seems like she drops a word that I've never heard of. And I was always deep into the vocabulary, especially growing up, and I read a lot more. But it's one of those things where you're like, I'm going to remember that. You don't remember it the next day. But I'm always just like, what is this? Another new word that I've never even remotely heard of, man. She's wonderful.
I love it. Yep. I was one of those kids who always had like the big word calendars. So like word of the day, you know what I mean? Like, I think as poets and songwriters, like I'm sure you the same way. Like I feel like I run out of words. I've been using these same words for so long. And that's like one of the big thoughts I've been holding on to for, it started last year, and really seeing this uprise in these kids and watching the youth and the way that they move. And just understanding, I was talking to someone the other day about, they said their kids, their son, tell his friends, male friends, they say, I love you every time that they leave. They tell each other that they love each other. And I say, you know what? Part of this is we didn't have the words toxic masculinity. No one had to explain that shit to us when they came up with those words, right? Like we all knew inherently what that was, but we didn't have the words for it. So this new generation, like steady making up new terms to really diagnose some of these things. You know what I mean? Like when we hear things like trauma bonds, another one that I was like, oh, I know exactly what that is.
Right. I just, in those exploration of those words, a lot of time I am excited about, what people are exploring, as long as they're not. I think some of these, people 100 years ago went through a lot of trauma without any way to diagnose it or deal with it other than alcohol. And I think I'm excited that kids today are identifying these things, as long as they're not wearing them as like badges to make them untouchable or unable to deal with anxiety, or to also judgy, just like, so they're not like, I feel like some of the kids today wear pain that we all endure as a way to sort of almost be on a high horse or not be addressed, not to have their thoughts and ideas tested. I feel like there's a little bit of a preciousness. I feel like there's a lot of great ideas going on out there, but not a lot of backbone for blowback from other opinions and other people and I think that's something that diminishes joy when you're not able to have those conversations without shutting or canceling a person out because in your, especially at that age and your like limited bit of world experience, you think that this person's completely on a different side of the spectrum than you know?
Right.
Like the songwriter, you mentioned being a songwriter earlier. Like I think as a poet, as a songwriter, it's our job to be somebody else, to pretend to be somebody else, to see the world from somebody else's eyes, to really take on the uncomfortable conversations. And I'm not always good at it myself. I'm just as scared as everybody else sometimes. But I think we've been gifted that. I guess that's what I'm getting to.
The poet Eyes on here says he's going in, and I'm so here for it. So you're doing great.
Yep.
And also brought up, and this is like a really good point too, masculine imbalance.
Ooh, I like that.
Toxic is a strong word. Like, and it is, you know what I mean? We start calling people toxic, like, then don't nobody want toxic around them. You know what I mean? Like, I do want to see that balance. You know, I'm a firm believer that that we are masculine and feminine, right? That we have both energies in us. So being able to balance these things, like, yeah, no, thanks for that. I appreciate you always looking out for me, making sure that I'm not putting 20 on 10 and, you know, calling people toxic, because that ain't joyful. You know?
But I love what you're talking about, dude, that these kids, like you said, are telling each other they love them as they're seeing each other and then moving through their lives. You're right. For us, coming up, I was living in an era where people still called you fag. Like, hey, if you said, hey man, I love you, they'd be like, fag. You know, it's like small town, rural, you know, back in the 80s, totally different era. And if you talk about finding your joy in the midst of times like these, if there's one real point of joy I found in the whole COVID situation, is that's happening every day for me. I'm picking up those phone calls I might have ignored before or put off until later. I'm making those calls when I'm in a moment where I feel alone, and maybe I would have just like taken a bong rip and just sat in my loneliness for a while instead of just reaching out. I'm definitely reaching out saying, I love you. I appreciate you. You know, I'm glad you're in my life. And that's a wonderful thing. I feel good just saying it right now. I'm just welling up right now, just talking about it. You know?
Yeah. No, I think, and I think COVID put a lot of us in that space. You know what I mean? Like, you know, I just jumped in and say, yeah, because people are precious. And I think we're really, really realizing how precious that people are. You know, a lot of us have lost people, or at the very least, if we haven't lost people, we've lost connection with people, right? Like my house used to be filled with people on a nightly basis.
Right.
There hasn't been anyone in my house in 10 months. So, you know, now, like I really treasure some of these conversations on where I would have left somebody sitting in a text message for who knows how long, you know what I mean? Like I'm doing something, I'm talking to people, I'm like in my artistic zone, where now, like, as soon as I get that text or something, I'm like, yo, I love you. I need you to know that, like, immediately, you know, it all feels really, really like, I don't know how it gets more precious.
Amen.
You know?
Exactly.
But it definitely does. So let's talk about joy, because you're in a band called Joy and Madness. So you know a little bit about joy. So how do you define joy?
Complete and absolute release, engagement, connection to something bigger than yourself, but that totally fills yourself. It doesn't take. I mean, it takes action on your part. In your part, in so much as you need to be open to release yourself to that sort of thing. But obviously you can't manufacture joy. You can put together things that might create an environment where people can be joyful, but unless you get them to push that button and just open up, they're not going to like release themselves to that. So joy involves release first and foremost. You have to absolutely just be released to it. you know?
Mm.
And I think I think an essential part of joy is a sense of purpose. And I think an essential part of maintaining a sense of purpose throughout a long life is being able to tickle yourself still at 90 years old, be amazed by that flower or that pill bug or that, you know, or just a moment between people of love, you know. For me, enjoying madness, I think first and foremost, it is definitely about release, you know, for myself. You know, I've got my own hangups and insecurities and things of that nature. And those are just released on the stage. So I am missing that connection big time. I think Join Madness has only rehearsed maybe twice in the last 10 months in a socially distanced manner in Jeremy's multi-level house. So it took me a long time to honestly realize how much of my joy was gone that first few months in, and how much I was even just my body energy, everything, just walking into a room, whenever you could walk into a room, and even that, you know, it was just different, like just kind of hunched over, shoulders up, just kind of down. Like it took a minute to realize how much of my mojo and spirit was gone.
Yeah. I think a lot of us like went through that, where, and that's where, like, you know, I always say we don't call it a joy stumble. We call it a joy hunt. And you have to actively like look for this joy.
Right.
And that's where I felt like, you know, I'd been doing this thing that I call the Great Joy Hunt for a couple of years by the time that the pandemic came down. And I felt like it was almost like, yo, I've been in the dojo, and this is why I've been in the dojo. Like,
exactly.
I knew how, you know, I'm quarantined solo by myself. So the loneliness was so much that, like, being trained in the mental to look for joy and to find it in these little things. And I think you hit it right on the head when you talk about wonder. You know, I wrote the line last night in this poem that where you're standing is right where the sky and the ground touch. That's so wild to me. You know what I mean? Like, it's so big to me. And, you know,
we're the conduit.
Like finding those things that we'll take for granted. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And like, how do you keep refreshing? I feel like there's two kinds of joy hunters, where it's like the folks who are looking for that new joy every time, that's one style. And then there's like the folks who are training to be overwhelmed with joy every time they see the same thing. Right. Like, for me, it's I'm a sun and clean air person. Like, anytime that I'm like, yo, it's sunny and the air is clean and I can breathe it. Like, you know, sometimes I got to take myself back to those days in the fires.
Oh, God. Yeah. Right.
Do you remember how much you were praying for rain? Do you remember how much all you wanted to do was come outside?
Like a million years ago.
Like,
yeah.
And so sometimes, like, putting yourself in those positions where you didn't have joy in order to, like, really connect to it and be able to appreciate it. Now, the poet I jumping in with the definitions today. I love this. Joy is a bug repellent. It will repel what's bugging us. It's a frequency pest control for the mind.
Wow. Loving it, man. Oh man, part of the conversation. Right on. Thank you.
Yeah. And also the definition that love is divine siblinghood, and realize
each other
there is no other, you know?
Yeah. You know, I think that's one of the main problems. I guess I don't really want to like wrestle around with problems, but I guess what I would encourage people to be open to and watch out for is how much our culture seeps into our very, very like meta level subconscious to tell us what's important and what's not important. I think you're what'd you say, you're 34?
36.
Like yeah, 36. You're already at an age now where if you did not believe in what you were doing, if you were not enthralled by wordplay, if you did not feel like that you were a conduit, if you were not convinced of yourself being a conduit and proud of that position and open to allowing these words to come through you and believing that it's important that they do and that there are people out there that need to hear it, If you don't feel that way, that avenue of joy would be gone for you, even if that's what you're meant to do with your life.
Right.
And I know we all know this. I'm not saying anything new, but there's so many people walking around whose potential joy is already squashed down to like 10% of what it could be, because they've already been convinced that the thing that they love the most is worthless. It doesn't mean anything, you know? And even if it's something you can't make a living out of, like what you said, like, I just like being out in the sun. I like being out in the air. I like to hike. I like to fish, whatever it is, you know? I think that if you recognize those things that give you joy, then, and it's not something you can make a living, then you structure your life so that the thing you do to make a living allows you to serve that joy as much as humanly possible outside of that moment.
That's the advice that I wish we were making sure that we gave kids in high school right before they went on to graduate, is like really find that joy first and foremost. You know, and don't think that it's gonna be this money or this well-paying job or this security. Security and joy are two very different things, and sometimes security will get in the way of your joy.
Worrying about your security, absolutely.
Like folks don't want to talk about that. You get too secure, and you stop having to look for the joy. You stop finding the joy.
There's that too. Exactly.
Granted, exactly. You know what I mean? Like, look at the Poet Eye weighing in again. Nature versus nurture. Our natural state is flow, which can't be changed. How we are nurtured can be changed rapidly by changing our ideas. Then our natures will back us up. Yo, and I was thinking, you know, again, gonna go back to something I was writing recently where I was like, you know, why do we act? We'll say life can change in an instant. You hear that a lot right now.
Believe it. Yes.
And with all of this, like you hear, like life can change in an instant, man. It's usually in the context of like you can lose someone
exactly
in a car accident, something terrible can happen in an instant and change everything. But we don't use that phrase in a positive context where like, yo, if we really believe life can change in an instant, then it can change in an instant for the good too. You know what I mean? Like you can, like, you know, some of y'all, the instant that you met your significant other, you knew like, yo, that's my future wife right there.
Right.
That was your instant where everything changed, you know, or I mean, I would say the moment that the lottery balls come down, you know, somebody's life changes in an instant for the good. So, you know, it's just really, really interesting that we don't think about it like that. You know, it's always to the bad. You know, I think we a lot of the time think about, you know, when things are really good, I'll wait for the other shoe to drop.
Exactly.
Right? But my nature when things are bad is not to wait for things to get good, because the universe has to have balance. Like,
it's so true, dude, because I even in myself in my own life, going throughout the day, I just find myself having moment after moment, you know, with my kids, especially as they were growing up, or myself, my future self. It's so easy for me to see the worst instantly, to just visualize this entire worst case scenario from top to bottom. It's just instantly there. Like it was just waiting to be shown, you know, but, my mind doesn't automatically go to like the best case scenario for all of those things, like circumstances that I'm in. I can imagine, you know, even when you're having fun at a water slide park or something random, I don't know. You just imagine the worst thing happen. My kids are playing the ocean. Oh, okay, this wave's going to come along, crash, yank one of them out there. I'm not going to be able to get to that kid. You know, you don't think like, they're going to learn. This is going to be the first day they stand up on a surfboard. You're
right.
Like, oh, they're going to die if I look away for like 1 second, you know, it's and obviously there's a survival and instinct and a primal thing happening behind there. And up until recently, you know, very recently in history, every day was still kind of a life and death situation. You know, I tell my kids, like recently I was telling my kids, like, just trying to get them more involved in helping around the house and being with me and stuff, that hey, you know, up until the last few decades, normal life was not a situation where you had hours just to decide what thing you want to play or do. Like everyone just had to chip in together and plow the field, or, you know, get the house up, you know, or ready for winter, or take care of the, you know, the cows or whatever it was, or that you're working at a factory at 12 years old. It's like, those things, those activities and engagement like binds people together. But right now, I think I'm kind of rambling, but I think those experiences before, even though they were a struggle, caused people to engage and bond together. I think a lot of our lack of joy now is the isolation that we feel. And now we're feeling it even more because of COVID. Like you said, like we all can do, there's so many things vying for our attention. There's so many things that we can do. We don't come together and force ourselves into these places out of necessity. We just go, oh, I'm going to be on my phone here. I'm going to play video games over here. I'm going to go, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
The devil is disconnection. You know what I mean? Like,
is she leaving? Okay. My daughter's just heading out. Is she already out the door? Oh, okay. All right, I'm gonna send her a message a little later. Okay.
The only devil is disconnection, you know.
Because that's where he talks to you in that silent moment, or those empty moments. That's where he starts going, "Oh, you're alone," because
and just that, man. That's where the depression kicks in. That's where all of the mental health issues start kicking in. Is when you start feeling disconnected, and disconnected from not only other people, right? Like, but that's like, for me, I feel like that's secondary, right? Like the disconnection from yourself, from your source, from your creator, your higher power, whatever terminology that folks want to use it. When you get disconnected from that and disconnected from yourself, like that's where things start to get really dark, you know, at least in my experience, for sure.
I was reading recently. Is it Viktor Frankl? There was a Holocaust survivor who went on to become a really famous psychologist or psychiatrist or something. Really interesting story, since I don't know all the details. But the point being, I think his name is Viktor Frankl. He was talking about the difference in psychology between people who had survived the Holocaust, like himself, and people who had succumbed to the despair. And it really was about finding the tiniest things, like a piece of string to save for later that might become useful. Having one moment secretly where you could help someone and in some moment to get through something and regain like a little piece of your humanity, you know, for that day. I think that's really the secret, and the kind of what I was talking about earlier. It's like you're going to see the same things over and over and over again, just as a regular human being living a regular human life, not stuck in a concentration camp or some horrific prison situation or whatever. And the secret I've found for myself is just to keep looking closer. Yeah, I've seen that rose 1,000 times, but once you start digging into the layers, you know, it's a whole different thing. And then you look the next day and there's a bee in there too, and that's doing something, and that makes you aware of the relationship between the bee and the flower. And then you start thinking about the bee, their relationship, and then you see a bee the next day and it's a different kind of bee. You know, it's like, look closer every day, just keep looking closer.
And it's, you know, we talk a lot about momentum on this show. Like, you know, that's why we figure out where our number is at the beginning, and then move forward from there to figure out like how to get whatever number you're at. Again, like I was talking about it yesterday, where if I start at a 2, like I can find joy in a lot of things, but I have to be general, right? Like at a 2, I need my dog, I need juice, I need a good meal, I need a good joke, I need some cake, like I need to go sit in the sun.
I love that cake, dude.
I'm telling you,
I hear you talking about cake a lot, man.
The high vibration lift, man. It's the shortcut.
What's your go-to cake? I missed out on that.
What's man,
what's the top 3? What's the top heap?
So I'm a cheesecake person, you know, because I feel like you can really, for my taste, you can mess up icing really easily.
Yeah.
I mean, like
sweet. Yeah.
So like a good cheesecake, and if I'm feeling extra fancy and extra like I need to take care of my vibe, I'll get one of those cheesecakes that's like the 4 different kinds of cheesecake.
What?
And you know what I mean? So it comes in and it's like the strawberry cheesecake.
I don't know what you mean, sir. Wow. I didn't know this existed.
Well, let me send you some links.
Okay.
I'm telling you right now.
Cheesecake links.
So at a 2, that's what I need to find.
Right.
At a 10, I can look at challenges and find joy. Right? Like when I'm up here, I can look and go, oh man, I do not know how to do this at all. This is going to be tight. I'm going to expand. I'm going to get some new, like, I'm going to get some whole new tricks. I'm going to some new things. I'm going to grow. Like, I can be hype on that. Yep. Don't get me at a 2 facing challenges and trying to find joy, because I'm not going to find it, you know.
That's a good point.
To really measure like where we're at as to what we need with the joy, you know, as we're hunting it.
That's a great point. To be honest with you, like, a lot of us do wake up or go through a day or come to the end of the day looking at some to-do list that we might have or something. And you're, like you said, say we're at a number 2 in our joy level, and you think, oh, just screw all of it. I can't even think about attacking any of this stuff right now. But when the thing you could do is just find that small thing that's going to bring your joy up a couple points in the next, few minutes. What's the one thing you could do? Maybe you just need to stretch for 10 minutes, or maybe you need that piece of cheesecake, or that extra cup of coffee, and you're like, okay, yeah, I don't have to tackle all this stuff at 2. I just have to get myself to a 4, and then I can look at tackling this, at least one of these things.
Yeah. I was talking to someone I love very, very much yesterday about that same idea of, like, there's this like work lane that you're in right now, and you're frustrated with the work lane. Mm-hmm. So jump out of the work lane. Mm-hmm. Like, go do some exercise, go take a walk, go whatever it is that like brings that number up and brings that joy up. Mm-hmm. And use that momentum and switch back over into this work lane. Yep. So you're at a higher number, so that's part of this like vibrational game that we play, because you can, it's the same. I don't know if you heard me talking earlier about the meeting I was in yesterday, mm-hmm. where we were planning curriculum, and I was so high vibe yesterday when I took this call that this woman and I worked out this curriculum in a matter of like 10 minutes. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And she was like, wow, that was so fast, and everything seemed to like really line up. And normally that might have been an hour-long meeting. That might have taken a while. But because I was in such a high place, and I kept cracking jokes and getting her into a high place, mm-hmm. and we're just having a good time doing it, then the momentum of that switches over into work life, and it makes the work happen so much easier.
Exactly.
Like, the same thing with like poems and writing songs, the same kind of way, where like if I'm beating my head against the wall trying to write this song, it does not come any faster. Mm-mm. But if I figure out a way to step away from it and go get my joy up, go spend some time with some people that I love, eat some cheesecake, whatever it is, right? Like if I come back to it after I'm in that high place, then it switches the whole momentum of everything up, and then the poem or the song comes out in 10 minutes, right? Like versus
exactly. And the other thing too is like, sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm good.
When you step away, I think, into some place that you're more comfortable with, or maybe a place that you feel like you have more ownership, maybe you just go out and you swing a golf club for 15 minutes or something. That place that you feel confident is going to translate. Not only are you going to experience that joy from just doing something that you do enjoy, but finding confidence in a different discipline will allow you to go back with maybe a higher state of confidence to the thing that was bothering you before. And you can also start making connections between the thing that you were doing confidently and the thing that you're not so confident about. These things kind of overlap throughout life. Even something silly like, in my life, I've had things I've been intimidated by, or a sequence of things I've needed to do to accomplish something. And sometimes I don't know where to start. And at some point in my life, I just did a simple thing that a lot of people have done. I'm a guy that loves video games. I've been playing video games since the 80s, since they first were coming out. And I find myself able to achieve things in like the RPG and open world environments, where you have a clear cut sort of parameters of the world that you're working with. The mission that's in front of you is clear. You see progress definitively being signaled by checkpoints that you reach. And I just started applying those things to my life and sort of gamifying the things that I was doing. And I would start taking things that seemed overwhelming or big to me and breaking them down to the steps to achieve that checkpoint, and imagining like a little bell going off every time I hit one of those things, or just like a graphic happening every time I hit one of those little checkpoints. And that also helped me kind of identify like maybe the breakdown in that experience that I was having, or the thing I was not able to achieve or was intimidated by. Because you find that in games too, a lot of open world stuff. You'd be in the middle of some mission, just go, I don't even remember what I'm supposed to be doing here, dude. Like, where was I supposed to go? You know? And I just started doing that in life. You know, you just pull things from different areas of confidence and then apply them to just sort of reset the way you're looking at something that's intimidating you. You know? Yeah.
All right, we're getting controversial in these comments over here. Cheese on cake is like eggs on salad. No, just no. Now, while I agree with the eggs on the salad, you people are monsters.
Except for a Caesar.
You put eggs on my
Caesar.
No.
I'm just kidding.
No. This is where we agree to disagree.
What if there's rice on top of the bed of lettuce and then egg on top of the rice?
No egg in salad. Just keep my eggs for breakfast. You know what I mean? Keep them off of my salad. And for all of y'all that I know, every time that I start getting into this tirade, people start going, well, what about egg salad? Egg salad is different. That's not salad, right?
But do you put lettuce on your egg salad sandwich?
No.
We're working out some things here.
That is the first time that I've ever had that question asked.
Okay.
So I appreciate that question.
Right on.
Versus people being like,
asking the hard questions.
Like, what about egg salad, man? But cheesecake isn't cheese on cake. This isn't putting the slice of cheese on the apple pie, which I hear people do. I don't know who these people are. Although I also don't feel like.
Oh, I've heard of that too. Cheddar cheese on apple pie. Yeah.
I guess it's like a thing. If anyone out there on the internet has done this and vouches for it, let me know. I might judge you a little bit. Now, only weigh in on cheese on apple pie if you don't put eggs on your salad. Like if you put eggs on your salad, I can't trust anything that you really have to say culinarily speaking.
Yeah, it's pretty odd. It's pretty odd. I got you.
So we also just have the coffee with multiple explanation points. This is where a lot of people find their joy, and that'll bring us into the finale of the show, where we ask y'all tuning in, where's your joy at?
This how God works. Play my position, what is given with no concerns. Go. Set it off. Top of the morning, I'm gonna set it off.
So where is your joy at today, Hans?
I would say, let me see, is it between 0 and 10? I'd say probably a 6, 7. I'm excited because I just moved into a new place a couple months ago with my girlfriend, and there's a little detached garage, and I'm putting a little studio space in there. I have never put up insulation or laid drywall or done anything like that, and that's what I've been doing for the last few days, and
nice.
I'm feeling very good about that. But at the same time, I've not been able to find my wallet or keys for the last 2 days, and I know they're somewhere in the house, and that happens way too often in my life. I always say, I don't know when I'm going to die, but there's a 99% chance that I'm going to be looking for my wallet, keys, or phone when it happens. So that's what's up. So I'd say a 6 or a 7. Let me just say this one thing before I forget. The other reason for my joy is something I want to tell everybody else about. There's a podcast by a guy named Kirk Hamilton called Strong Songs. If you are a musician or a music lover or just someone who wants to feel good, you need to listen to this podcast, Strong Songs. This man literally sounds like he's smiling the entire time he's talking. He's so happy about music. He breaks down different songs and different iconic tracks, and then does some Q&A with his listeners too. But he's incredibly knowledgeable, plays a million different instruments, and is so happy to talk about music. You'll get 10 minutes into the podcast and realize you're just happy. And I can't recommend it enough. Strong Songs, Kirk Hamilton.
Dope. Strong Songs.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna dive into this. I recently found out Rick Rubin has a podcast.
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna be diving into that. That's my people wear the WWJD bracelets. I
Right.
wear the WWRRD bracelet of like what would Rick Rubin do in any moment.
You might be better off these days with that one. Yeah.
I'm being.
I don't know that anybody with those bracelets actually is really seriously asking themselves that question these days. I don't know.
I mean, there's a lot of folks who
I grew up in that
really
place. We grew up in that hardcore Pentecostal church.
Same. My father's a minister. My mom was a minister of music. We
Heart of Christ. I'm still there. Heart of Christ.
We love some Uncle Jesus on this show.
Yeah.
And definitely like, there's a battle going on in the church right now. That's for sure. So, shout out to everybody who's
up
really
down is up.
Like,
yep.
Yeah. Let's see. My joy. Well, this was definitely a joyful experience for me. Like we talked about connection. You're someone who I know of, but I don't think we'd ever actually like connected in the 3D world. So that's always really cool. I love the ability of this show. There are some folks who I don't really know in real life that tune in on a regular basis that I get to chat with, that'll talk to me throughout the day about things that were on the show. So it's really like helped to build connection, which is really cool. Just the whole live streaming thing is like a new art form to me. So I get really geeked out about like how to do.
It can be frustrating.
I'm going to make these graphics.
Yeah.
And I'm going to do this. But what if I had it like this on this show? And like that is so exciting to me.
Are you using Streamlabs? Just
StreamYard.
No, is StreamYard what you're actually streaming through?
Yeah.
Okay. Got you. Because I want to bring on people just like you're doing. I just want to do interviews and hang out with a few people. Maybe I'll give that a shot. I've been using Streamlabs just for all my overlays and stuff. But thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. No, I'm here for it. I'll be geeking out super heavy on this. I had a mentor. I wasn't even really trying to do streaming. The few performances that I was doing that people asked me to do really left me. There's this plummet that people don't understand, where it's like, I get my adrenaline up to like do the pump, and then there's no like gradual break. No. It's literally just coming back down to like I'm at home alone by myself. Really, who's that?
You know what? Hold on a second.
Yeah.
Pepe, come here.
One's pajamas also bringing me joy this morning. Uncle Jesus, he would definitely put eggs on salad. That is blasphemy. That is blasphemy. Look at that. Oh, what, you don't want
to look
at the screen? You don't want to look at the screen all of a sudden? Yeah, we got 2 dogs for y'all. Look at all the joy on this screen right now. So I got asked to do a show for the Latino Center of Arts and Culture around COVID, and did that show. And then through doing that show was like, oh, this is really cool. Like, I like that I can just, because when it makes it this and I'm talking to people versus performing, there's no real like anxiety. There's just the like, I get to talk to people. I get to connect with people. So it made it a lot easier. So I nerd out on things. Like as soon as I find something that I'm into, like I have such an addictive personality.
Right.
Like I'll be up for 48 hours straight, just like, okay, wait, let me learn the inside of how do I do this graphic? What
plus being by yourself, dude, like you got to fill that time. It's taken a while to occur to me. I mean, to really let that sink in for me, because I've had my kids and my girlfriend, throughout this entire thing. And I guess it just didn't really sink into me how many people are truly doing this completely alone 99% of the time, dude. Man, I feel you.
Yeah, but I mean, it also, it's funny for me too, because I'm like, yeah, but like that means y'all can't get away from your significant others. That means y'all.
That's true. That's definitely part of it.
where like, you know, at the beginning of the pandemic, I'm talking about like, yeah, I took a nap today, like 4 to like 8. And then I was up until 2, and people are like, people who had the family with them were like, "Oh, I'm so jealous." You know when the last time I got a nap was, like in the middle of the day.
Yeah.
So you know, there's
my kids are teenagers, so they're napping now.
On both sides, right?
Right on, yeah. I can definitely see the appeal. I'm jealous of your like, the ability to just focus, like you said, for 48 hours straight on just, I'm gonna get this thing set up, and this is all I'm thinking about.
Nobody ever complains that the dishes aren't done.
Exactly.
No matter how many weeks in a row they go without being done. Like it's fantastic.
Back in the day, dude, I had my first band. The guitar player was notorious, and he had a girl that he was going out with that finally broke up with him after she finally got sick of the dishes and decided to do them herself, and found 2 dead rats in the different layers of dishes. One fresh and one partly decomposed down. That was it. They were done.
I will throw out that I'm bad, but I'm not that bad.
Hell no.
You know what I mean? Like it'll be now. I will get to the place where every dish in the house is dirty. Like where I'm like eating cereal with a knife out of like a small Tupperware that I found just because like
I will a Karate Kid exercise.
Yeah.
But like berries with a knife.
But nobody else has to do it. You know what I mean? No. Like so I don't bring anyone else into my my dish mess. No. And that's pretty much like where the mess stays contained. Like the rest of the house is like pretty good. I just hate doing dishes, man. I don't and it's not like a dishwasher would help it. You know what I mean? I don't want to touch them. I want to put them in a sink and have them just reappear clean.
Oh, you know what? Well, on a side note, then this is maybe the dumbest thing on this interview, but I saw there is a thing that you can order that you can just basically you place it into your sink with a bunch of water and soap and all the dirty dishes that are in there. Supposedly it does some sort of little vibration thing, and kind of it's like a dishwasher for your sink, but it happens in just a few minutes. They're like all cleaned off. You just tie them off and put them away. It's for camping. It's just ostensibly for camping because you can go make that happen without power or electricity or whatever. I'll try to find it and send you the link, dude.
Yeah, send me that link. That's literally the joy that I need in my life.
I don't know how effective, how exaggerated it is, but the videos make it look like you literally just place that thing in there with your dishes and some water and just do the and all comes off like those Sonicare toothbrushes or something for your teeth. Yeah, it's for dishes.
Podai says my joy is at a solid 13. Still physics.
Rub it in, why don't you?
Stay working on them physics.
Wait, 13 out of what?
13 out of 10.
Got you. Wow.
Oh yeah, we over and above.
Daniel's a joy overachiever. That's a good thing.
If y'all are watching, if y'all want to leave your joy in the comments, don't keep your joy to yourself. Don't be that person.
Spread it.
Make sure that you're sharing that joy. I definitely have people who chime in and catch this stream later in the day and are like, yo, I saw so-and-so put this was their joy. And then I started thinking about that and it made me feel better. Like, so this is a collective effort that we do to get everybody's joy a little bit higher, everybody doing a little bit of that vibrational maintenance because it's so important right now. And then you learn some of these tips and tricks to be able to move differently throughout the day. What are some of your joy rituals per day?
Me?
Yeah.
Definitely coffee.
I was just gonna say I saw the coffee.
But then definitely also like yoga for sure. Getting back to that. It's one of those things I find myself moving in and out of, and then a few weeks will go by and I haven't been doing it for whatever reason. Every time I get back to that, I know it's so cliche, but it does what it does, for a reason. Also just lately, practicing guitar. I've definitely reached a plateau as a guitar player, and I'm finally sitting down and putting together all the simple shit we're supposed to have done years ago, with, you know, learning pentatonic scales and major and minor. I'm just really focusing on that. And I guess what's 11:11? 11:11. Make a wish, guys.
Hey.
But yeah, things of that nature. Just small updates on progress, you know, and I guess just checking in, like we were talking about earlier, checking in with my girl, checking in with my friends, and honestly staying off the news as much as possible. I had a pretty angry post incidents of last week at the Capitol. Generally, I'm pretty much staying away from that kind of stuff on my page or just any of those platforms. But I let that out and let it be. And so what I'd say, but for the most part, I try to just keep away from constant news feed. I'm more interested in reading and kind of sketching and drawing right now. I read a lot of graphic novels.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I definitely hear that, and it's like a balance. It's like a balancing act right now, especially with everything going on in the world. You know, because you don't want to like be the ostrich that like puts your head in the sand.
Yep.
You know, a lot of us, especially folks who look like you and I, privileged to be able to kind of look away from some of the things that are going on that don't directly impact us. For me, like walking that balance of like, you know, I don't want to be mad. I don't want to be angry. I don't want to spend all day that way. So really looking at, I think how, for me, the way that I kind of negotiate that is like, I'm here to actively love people versus passively hate people.
Yes.
Right? Like,
yeah, exactly.
When I look at, you know, we have this stuff going on. We have racial injustice going on, right, for instance. So I can either get online and be angry at white folks, or I can in real life love on some black folks.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And like love on my black and brown family, and like just be and like pour in that way versus pour out hate. You can pour in love.
Right.
So that's definitely like, you know, I think something that we're all like kind of trying to learn at the same time, because, you know, we do want to stand against some of this oppression that's going on. You know, there's this wave of like new age healers. I call them the white crystal kids that are like, all you have to do is focus on the good things. And there's no that people are still being oppressed out here. There's still like hellacious circumstances for people in the world. So figuring out how to be love actively versus like, you know, there's just different lanes of fighting, you know. I'm supportive of all of the lanes. I believe it takes all of us. So for the folks who do want to like, you just want to go smash some shit, you smash those things, you know what I mean? That's not my lane anymore. Catch me in my 20s. I was all about it. But like, as I've grown, it just, for me, it's more of like an active, how do I actively love those who are being oppressed? How do I actively ease some of the effects of that oppression? Right. Like, so yeah, it's a tightrope walk right now, you know, with everything that's going on. Like, just how do you put more love into the world? How do you put more joy into the world? And that's what we steady trying to do here. So
especially when you can't physically gather and put your arms around someone or serve. Well, you can, there's still opportunities to go serve people food and things of that nature. You know, it's just all of it's been made that much more difficult with that extra layer of COVID. But I love exactly what you're saying, dude. It's really about, even though I had to kind of get something out the other day and make that post happen, ultimately it's a moment of frustration, a moment of anger, but the real forward progress comes in, finding those ways in real life to signal love. We come from the same background, but like you said, so that was kind of what it was all about in a real Christian life is that it's not about memorizing Bible verses, except to more fully know who God is in that paradigm, you know, that you're in. It's really about enacting love on a daily basis, and that's the difficult work, because you got to find ways to do that, and then you got to follow through with that, and you got to be vulnerable and open, and it's a lot easier to just shout at something you're angry about, you know.
Yeah.
That's just what it is, and sometimes we got to do that, you know.
It can be therapeutic,
Mm-hmm.
but something being therapeutic doesn't always mean that it's helpful to the solution,
The greater cause, exactly.
the situation. Like,
I get annoyed with people that I do get a little, I guess annoyed is the wrong word, but it sounds petty, but I worry about people who are shooting themselves in the foot, who have good intentions and their support, you know. You see a lot of people, I've had people tell me that, you know, my silence on something makes me complicit to something, and I'm just going like, what, who are you? What do you know about me, or like what I'm doing or what I'm not doing or whatever? I don't need to rant on Facebook to show someone that I'm an ally for a certain cause or something. I think it's about like what you were talking about. I love that you know, it's about real life impact and real life efforts, and showing and figuring out how to love, you know, not figuring out which color square I should be posting on Facebook, you know, or Instagram to signal that I'm a warrior, you know. It's
so
about the real life love.
yeah. And I mean, you froze up a little bit there on my end. I don't know if you froze up on the audience's end, but I think
Gotcha.
I gather what you're talking about, and it is like just
Real
that
life love, man.
just that active love,
Yeah.
and even like translating that to social media,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like to where it is, because you know the silence does hurt folks, you know what I mean? Like, so
Yeah.
finding ways to, rather than like, if you're like, yo, I don't want to be on this, like on this negative vibration over here, then
Mm-hmm.
how can you put out that positive vibration that's
Mm-hmm.
still saying something, that's still saying
Right.
like, I'm here to love you, that's still saying I'm here, you know
Right.
what I mean? And not like, you know, because even just, you know, sometimes the perception, right, of like, oh, this dude doesn't care, like that hurts folks, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? So like doing something that actively says like, yo, I love y'all, you know what I mean? Like I'm standing with you, I'm here however I can be, right? Like,
Right.
So yeah, I definitely hear that, and just this idea of like actively loving people versus passively hating folks.
Yep.
And again, like I'm not getting at anybody that puts those, like, put your rants up. You know what I'm saying? Get it out of you if you got to get it out of you. You know what I mean? And if that's how you fight, that's how you fight.
Mm-hmm.
I got a lot of respect for the folks who go out there and take it on directly, and they're in the streets, and they're going toe to toe with the Proud Boys and all of that. Like,
Right.
I got nothing but love for you. I appreciate that energy. You know what I mean? And
Right.
when y'all get back home and your heart hurts, come and talk to me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's my lane, is to really help like heal that side of things.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And it's because a lot of it is because I know a lot of that fight from when I was younger. Like I was that kind of warrior for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And really saw just kind of what that can do to folks, especially Black and brown folks. You know what I mean? Just staying in that fight and watching folks like burn out and just get
Mm-hmm.
beat up by the world, like taking this stuff on. And it's so rough on our leaders in these movements. So I try to be that dude that, like, yo, like when one of our leaders, like, if I show up to a movement, I'm notorious for like asking whoever's leading that day what kind of coffee they drink and showing up with coffee, you know what I mean? Or like when we go home that night, like, yo, let me Postmates you something. Where's your favorite restaurant in town?
Right.
Like, just really pushing that love, you know what I mean? So And it has been we coming up on 30 seconds away from an hour. We did a full one today. So yeah, man, it's been an absolute pleasure having you through the show.
I appreciate it.
The onesie is just fly. I don't know how we did an hour without even talking about the onesie.
Yes, it's so comfy.
It's not that kind of show. This is a family show, Hans.
That's right. There's nothing more dangerous than the nipple in America. Nothing more terrifying or dangerous.
Cha-Cha says, my joy today is the love I get from the amazing people in my life.
Cha-Cha Bernadette, how you doing?
Yeah. No, it's absolutely real. So y'all keep hunting that joy. I think we about done here. We're gonna wrap it up.
Brother.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a complete pleasure having you on. Glad we got to connect. And for Hans of Hans in the Hot Mess, I'm Andrew Defy, and I love you, and you can't do shit about it.
This how God works. Take my position, what is given with no concerns. Go, 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 go. Set it out. Top of the morning, I'm gonna set it out.